What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Darium's Competitive Pokemon. Gonna be rolling some games on Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. Just trying to get some testing in for the World Championships. You know, since it's a brand new set that's legal for the World Championships. Burning Shadows. It's going to, I think, you know, experience is going to matter a lot, and just having as much time as possible with, you know, these cards, with hands-on, with the new set, it's going to make, you know, those players who spend more time with these new cards have a greater advantage. So just trying to get as many games as I can with the new format in the next 2 weeks before I have to play at Worlds. So pretty excited about this. Looks like I'm playing against a Drampa Garbodor deck, which is a pretty good matchup for Gardevoir GX here. Wonder if I'm playing against Azul, the Azul, the regional winning Azul from the United States here, as in playing against Azul GG. So I don't know, we will see. But see, I get end turn 1. That's fantastic, because that hand that I was sitting on back there was no good. Looks like my opponent doesn't get any Trubbish down on the first turn of the game, just plays an N and has to pass. So I'm cool with that, though. I start my Diancie, which is fantastic. Now I'm looking for a Ralts, and we get one. So I'm pretty much good to go here. You know, I'm fine with just having one Ralts. You know, ideally we would have ripped 2, but that's asking an awful lot off an end turn 1. So gonna get the turn 1 Kirlia. Fantastic. I got Gardevoir in hand, ready to go. And we'll be able to start powering that thing up next turn. So we're gonna have a turn 2 Gardevoir, it looks like. My opponent is looking like they're starting to power up Berserk. You know, maybe my opponent will get the ability locking Garbodor here into play within the next couple turns, but I do play a couple copies of Field Blower, so we should be fine in that regard. I have a bunch of options next turn if this hand sticks. You know, if my opponent ends me, I don't know, maybe they'll big wheel. I'm not totally sure, but that's, you know, this is a pretty decent hand to be sitting on. I'll probably just end it away next turn. My opponent is playing Potown. I actually really wanted to test this deck out. So I think Drampa Garbodor seems like it kind of gets outclassed by these evolution decks, but I think that Potown is actually the answer. This is how, you know, Drampa Garbodor is going to be able to stay relevant and hit relevant numbers. If you can use Potown not only to damage your own Garbodors on the bench, but also to damage your opponent's evolutions. So I'm not totally worried about speed here. I'm not gonna, you know, give my opponent the benefit of letting him just like rack up damage on me with this Potown. I'm not gonna try and dive in here head first. I'm just gonna take my time and try to Sparkling Wish with Diancie as many times as I can before, you know, I start swinging in with my Gardevoirs. Looks like my opponent's playing one more Ultra Ball here. You know, they're probably just going to go ahead and Energy Drive into my Diancie. They'll be taking a 2-hit knockout, but they don't really mind because, oh, and my opponent has nothing in hand. Oh, he's going to Big Wheel. Okay, I was going to say, my opponent played their hand all the way down. I don't really know why they do that, but this makes a lot of sense. I like this play a lot better than Energy Driving the Diancie. Energy driving the Diancie doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I will attach Fairy Energy to my Kirlia here, and I'm just going to end my opponent's hand right back in. And we were able to cop ourselves another Ralts, so that's good. I am just going to, you know, grab a Ralts and then Sparkling Wish that thing right back up into a Kirlia. I think I'm going to Ultra Ball away this is tough. I think probably the N and the Lele, or the N and the Floatstone. The N, and then we'll do the Rare Candy. That's fine. It looks like we're not going to need too many Rare Candies this game. This way, I have the Lele, I have the Floatstone in case anything weird happens. I do have some options there. Can actually slap this Floatstone down on the Oranguru. Or I put it on the Diancie. It doesn't really matter. Probably the Oranguru because I just don't want him to get stuck. I can instruct for one. That's cool. And I'll Sparkling Wish. Pretty good just to get that Acerola in my hand. I don't mind that. I could stick more of that away next turn. That means that I'll have, more access to Acerola with my Versus Seekers. I've only played down 2 items so far, so we're doing pretty well in that regard, though I do have 3 ends, all 3 ends in the discard pile, so that's a little weird, but it doesn't really bother me too much. You see my opponent is going to be able to get the quick Drampa for 180 with that Potown. That's pretty impressive. If my opponent can lock things up this turn, that's going to be pretty annoying. If they can lock things up with that ability Garbodor, that, you know, not really a huge fan of that. Don't really want that to happen. That would kind of force me to have to find one of my field blowers or just, you know, a double colorless energy. This is the tough thing about this matchup for my opponent here, is that Gardevoir, you know, abilities or not, just knocks out Drampa so easily. I mean, all I need is 3 energy. So here we go. I got myself a Gardevoir. I can accelerate. I mean, I'm going to take 30 damage there, but it's fine. I'm going to slap that DCE on there. I'm going to go ahead and Secret Spring onto my benched Curlia just to diversify my resources a little bit. I'll throw the Diancie down just in case I get into a weird spot where I need to fall back and evolve again. You know, I don't know if my opponent's playing Espeon or something like that. Let's see. And then I'm going to Wonder Tag. And we're going to go grab a supporter. So I could end here. No, I can't because I have all 3 of my ends in the discard pile. So we're going to go for the Sycamore. Grab that. I'm not going to drop the other Lele down, I don't think. It's just not really worth it. I'll put my Floatstone on the Gardevoir GX that I'm anticipating going into the active position and Sycamore. Let's see, I can grab myself another Gardevoir and accelerate one more time. That sounds fine. I don't really mind that too much. So we just slap as many energies down as we can. I think I'm going to Ultra Ball away the Lele just because I anticipate that my opponent will start to lock things up here. So that's why I'm just trying to get my abilities in as much as I can. Yes, this is unfortunate that I have to go through Potown, but at the end of the day, I'm all right with it. Now, if we do find ourselves in a weird position where we have too many tools in the discard, or too many items in the discard pile, we always have that GX attack that we can fall back on. Twilight GX, which is super cool. You know, at the end of the game, if, you know, our opponent is just trying to sweep us down with Garbodors, there's a Ralts. That's good. That's what I'm looking for. My opponent's trying to sweep us down with Garbodors. I could just Twilight GX. If they don't have another significant attacker on board, then their damage is just completely nerfed and they don't really have another option. Looks like my opponent does play a few copies of Potown, which is good. I mean, I think that this deck seems pretty viable and I like it, but I don't like that Drampa just gets knocked out by Gardevoir so easily. So I'm not sure if the fact that you are limiting their hit points with Potown is actually worth the fact that, you know, I don't think if it balances out the fact that this Drampa just goes down so easily. I don't think it, you know, really buffs out this matchup at all, unfortunately. Now, it does depend on the build. You know, I do play the Diancie, which allows me to get through that a little bit. Okay, so my opponent does opt just for the Righteous Edge there. Now, I could Acerola. That's not really worth it. I think at this point, I'm just going to Field Blower, and I'm just going to go for broke. So let's Field Blower, take off my opponent's Floatstone, and that Garbodor's Floatstone. Done. Drop that Ralts. Ultra Ball away, my Sycamore, my Acerola. I could grab the Sudowoodo and Sycamore it. Let's see, I don't have Guzma or Lysandre in this card, so that wasn't an option. Yeah, just going to grab the Sudowoodo and Sycamore that away. I can instruct for 1 before I do this. Ugh, that's ugly. You never really want to do that, but that's fine. All right, just kind of a bum luck there. Maybe I shouldn't have instructed. I didn't really need anything, but I am trying to draw aggressively here. I want some energies, things like that. That's pretty rough just for the fact that, you know, now their Trash Land's going to be doing a lot more damage. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 160. Yeah, now we're starting to get into trouble a little bit. Now, I don't want to actually swing into this Drampa without knocking it out. So 369, yeah, so it might be time to just take this to GX Town, just throw our items back in there. I wouldn't really mind doing that too terribly much. And then, you know, my opponent decides to put a third energy onto this Drampa. I left that Town in play. I should have field blowered that. But anyways, if my opponent decides they want to put a third energy on here and knock me out, then, you know, they can do that. I think I do want to. Let's Secret Spring. All right, I'm running out of time here. Let's Secret Spring to, oh, one of these. Right there. And then let's attach one more to, let's see. I'll just throw it on the Tapu Lele there. And then let's just GX. And let's throw all our items back in. So that way we can get some rare candies back in, Versus Seekers, Field Blower, a whole bunch of good stuff. Double colorless, and a Fairy Energy. Good. All right. So now my opponent is not doing really any damage with Garbodor. If they want to knock me out, they are going to have to do it with Drampa. If they do knock me out with Drampa, then they are going to go down to 2 prizes. So I put the energy on the Tapu Lele here just to kind of have another option. You know, if it gets down to it, I can kind of just trade some damage with Tapu Lele, and that's fine. I just, you know, I was thinking about putting it on the Ralts. I didn't want to put it on the Ralts just in case I don't get to evolve it up into a Gardevoir this game. I could have put it on my active Gardevoir, but I didn't want to put it on the active Gardevoir because I'm kind of anticipating this thing biting the dust this turn. So this is the kind of trade that I'm anticipating. I'm anticipating this Gardevoir going down right here. Then I'll bring up this Gardevoir and go down to 2 prizes. And then my opponent won't be able to knock out this Gardevoir here. And I'll just have to sweep up the game with this Gardevoir. Draw into a great hand. I'm fine with this because I have a Rangaroo in play, and with the Field Blower, I am able to use that Instruct ability. I'm going to be able to use my Secret Spring abilities as well just to get more energy into play. I'm pretty much thinking that this game is looking like a wrap. Like I'm going to be able to sweep this one up pretty well. Opponent doesn't get the knockout. They just swing in with that Righteous Edge. Get the Sycamore. This is pretty much anything I could possibly want. I want the Lysander. That's really what I want. But I think what I can do is just go in super aggressively on this Drampa with my bench Gardevoir, take that knockout, and then my opponent will just have to bring up the Lele to try and finish the game, and it just is not going to work out. So let's Field Blower. I'm going to take out the Town and my opponent's Choice Band on the Garbodor. All right, we're going to take both those out. So if we get 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, let's just slap that double colorless energy down there. Then let's Secret Spring onto my active one time. We're going to Professor's Letter so that we can, last Fairy Energy in deck. Oh boy. Got 2 double colorless energy left, so let's Secret Spring one more time. Throw that onto my active. Can Instruct a couple times. Let's see. I don't want my opponent to be able to knock me out with the Garbodor. That's kind of the whole idea here. But since I Twilighted, you can see that it doesn't even really matter. I could just Field Blower again. I can N, but there's no point in N-ing, so I might as well Sycamore. I can Acerola. Acerola would be hilarious, but I don't need to do that. Let's just go ahead and draw cards. We're going to Sycamore. Okay, so I can Ultra Ball, get my other Gardevoir into play. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that to thin my deck out. I don't want this Curlia. Just grab that Gardevoir GX. And we're going to Rare Candy into Gardevoir, just to get ourselves that board position nice and strong. Pretty much nothing else we want here. Now I'm going to retreat and take this knockout on the Drampa. So as you can see, this is kind of case in point. You know, Gardevoir's really good against this deck that I'm playing, against this Garbodor deck. There's just, even the Town, it's not enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could do 120. Maybe you could get a Lysander knockout on this Gardevoir. That'd be mildly annoying, but I think I'm fine. At this point, you know, if my opponent does get, they can't end in Lysander in the same turn. So if they do Lysander and knock out my benched Gardevoir, then, you know, I have Lysander for game. If my opponent, let's see, maybe if they Field Blower, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, they could do 180. Okay, if they Field Blower both my tools and have a Choice Band on their Garbodor, then they could also ed me, and that would put me in a pretty tough spot. I wouldn't love that, because then I'm sitting here and my opponent is going to be taking, you know, one-hit knockout on my Gardevoir, but you could tell by the fact that my opponent promoted the Tapu Lele. They don't have it. I pretty much had the game there. You can see I had the Guzma in hand, so that pretty good matchup. I haven't had any problems beating Garbodor decks with Gardevoir since I've been playing it. This is why I think that Garbodor may actually kind of just have to take a backseat at the World Championships. I don't think it's going to make a big impact there. That's just my prediction, because it just takes such a hard L to Gardevoir. I've seen some teched out and fancy lists that play, you know, like Espeon and things like that. And Espeon in combination with Potown is pretty annoying. Like, I'll give it that. Maybe Necrozma. I've seen some lists play Necrozma to try and snipe damage to all of my Gardevoir at the same time. But, you know, I'm not exactly sure how successful Garbodor is going to be at the World Championships. Just the ability to throw in all of your items and tools just back into the deck with that GX attack, it just really, really hinders their ability to sweep up with Garbodor, which is the whole point of that deck. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you guys think of these decks, what decks you want to see in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace. Take it easy.